Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be the last day that we have this CRV, that we're working on it at least. I'm sure it'll be here probably through the weekend because I may have to finish up one or two small things or something. But yeah, today's going to be the last video that we make on it. Motor's in if you watched the last video, and now I just got to finish buttoning up the little stuff. So I got to do like the exhaust, power steering pump, you know, just a few little small things like that. Do a little intake thing, make a little throttle cable bracket, or modify the one that was on the other engine. And yeah, we'll kick this thing out here. So not a whole lot else to say other than hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the last couple ones, and hopefully you guys had a good new year. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. Mine was pretty boring. Just played some Xbox. I didn't really hardly drink at all, but I mean, to each their own. Normally I would have, but I didn't feel like, I don't know, I don't like drinking to the point where I get sick, so it's not really my thing, but it was fun nonetheless, just playing Xbox with some friends and having a good time. So hopefully you guys stayed safe and had a good time yourself. But let's start knocking this stuff out because I got to try and sift through and find all these nuts and bolts and stuff that I need. But yeah, let's go. So I don't think this is coolant. This is really, really nasty water. There's like actual weight to this, like so much sediment at the bottom of this. I have no idea what this crap is that was inside the radiator, or inside the reservoir. Literally looks like poop. like somebody straight up threw mud in there, or like melted a chocolate bar or something over time, because that's like in there. So I'm actually going to take this radiator back out and run the garden hose through it, because that stuff, you can kind of see it's all crusty up in there, so I don't like that. And that's not going to play over well, because I'm afraid that this clean engine, because all that crap is definitely inside of that engine. I noticed it the other day. So I'm gonna, yeah, pull this thing back out and try and flush this out a little bit. This is absolutely unacceptable. Well, should be about time for fluids. Got the axles and all that. Got half the exhaust hooked up. Got the radiator flushed out. That thing just needs to be replaced, honestly. That thing is nasty, nasty. So, let's add some coolant. Let's add some oil. Add some tranny fluid and let her rip. Fire it up. Make sure this thing runs. And then I might have to set the ignition timing. He did change the distributor. But, I mean, we got a timing light, so it's not a big deal. I just had to hook up the exhaust because I forgot that the secondary O2 sensor by the cat needed to be hooked up, so I didn't want to throw in any check engine lights like that, so that way if there is any check engine lights as is, I can read them and know that it's not like the O2s or whatever. Small thing is, don't have the shifter cable bracket. Totally forgot about that, so I hope it's in neutral right now. I can move the thing here, but I forget which one's neutral exactly, but I don't have the bracket here. It's not anywhere in any of these parts bins he left behind, so text I'm waiting on a response. But yeah, now I think I should be able to fire it. I'm gonna pump the clutch real quick, make sure the clutch works. And I don't know where this bracket goes, because wherever it went, there's no bolts for, because I didn't take this thing off, and I'm not used to having the hard lines, let alone on a CRV, so I don't know where that sits. The only spot that looks like it sits there is right where I kind of have it, but I don't have any bolt, because the one bolt thread that's big enough to thread to the trans is too big to fit through the hole on the bracket, but there's no upward facing or downward bolts or threads on the trans casing, so I don't know. I'm gonna prime it real quick, check for any fuel leaks, and we'll see if we can't get this thing fired up. Battery real quick, because we might need some power to actually fire this thing up. Whoops. Okay, we're good there. Yeah, a little nervous, but let's prime it up real quick, see if the key is in here. I gotta drop the back end down because I gotta bleed the cooling system, assuming it fires up. Okay, let's see where the key actually be. Oh, there it is. Alright, well, let's prime it. Okay, there's one prime. Check for fuel. I don't smell anything. I don't see anything. Let's do it once more. Okay, that fuel pump's definitely kicking in, so that's good. Looks all dry to me. Sweet. I guess let's fire it up, see what happens, see if I don't have these two crossed. It's been a while since I've done those. I think they should be fine because the lengths are the same, or the corresponding lengths are in the right spot, but the colors are the same, so it's a little confusing. Yeah, let's fire this thing out quick.
see what she sounds like. Hopefully everything's okay. Well, we got clutch pressure, so that's good. Hope it's in neutral because the shifter's kind of limp, but let's see. Well, she fired up quite nice. I'm gonna let it idle for a minute because this engine obviously is new, so it hasn't had oil in it for a hot minute. I'll let it idle, see if that ticking goes away. It does sound quite a bit like the valve lash is a bit out though, so I don't know, it sounds a little bit loose, but like Eric the car guy says, better to hear it than to smell it. So we can always readjust that, but yeah, it fired up. So a couple things to note is that the radiator might be clogged and or the thermostat is bad right out of the box. We did replace it, it's a brand new one, but it doesn't want to open. I idled it for like 20 minutes, the car never overheated, but it didn't open the thermostat. And none of the fans kicked on, which it is a cool day today, so that might be part of it. The ambient temp is pretty low. But yeah, so radiator was absolutely disgusting like you guys saw. So there's a good chance it might be clogged. But I won't know for sure. Tomorrow I'm gonna try and get it to bleed some more, but I also in the morning, because now I gotta let this thing sit and cool overnight, try and do the valve lash again. I did set the timing. It was hardly anything off. I mean, I had to, I don't know which way is which, but I had to turn the distributor just a little bit towards that way because it was just a hair high, but it's idling minty right around 800 RPM, so that's good. But yeah, so a few more little kinks and we'll have this thing ready to go home. But either way, I can't do anything until that guy can source that shifter bracket. So, well, I can't let it go until the guy sources that bracket. I can finish the other stuff, but not that. Okay, good news, I found the bracket. It was hidden under all this crap. I even checked in here, but I guess I just didn't move enough stuff. So we have our bracket. I gotta find the other bolt for it real quick, but we have it nonetheless. So, happy day, car runs, just needs the valve lash reset. Okay, we're back at it the next morning. I'm about to pop the valve cover off. I just ran to Dunkin' to get coffee, and I just kind of noticed my car was a little bit more ticky when it was cold than the Miata was. So I popped the hood, and sure enough, I had another hairline crack in the manifold. So I just got home, MIG welded that thing back up real quick because I'm sick of pulling that thing off the Ticket. Right now, I'm basically holding it together with super glue and Band-Aids, per se, just until I can afford the pieces I need to build my own. But I'm gonna pull this valve cover off real quick. We're gonna double check the valve lash specs and see if maybe we can't adjust a little bit more. I did a little bit more research last night for specs, and all I can find for the JDM motor is the same as the normal motor. So like 3 thousandths to 5 thousandths intake, and what is it, 6 thousandths to 8 thousandths exhaust. So I'm gonna go with the Eric the car guy thing, the whole 10 and 18s, and we're gonna try that. Got the valve cover off in here, got my 10 and 18, so 0.004, 0.007. So going off the intake right away, the intake is way too tight for some reason, although that would not make so much noise as it would just burn up a valve. But the exhaust side seems pretty good, so I think I could be okay there. So I'm going to modify or adjust the intake side, and then just kind of work my way through this, throw you guys up on the time lapse just so I can get this done, and then hopefully that makes a difference.
One eternity later.
So I think I might have found the source of the rattling. This was not my doing. This is one of the the little washer thingies for the valve cover, whatever. Yeah, because I had to dig up a whole set of these to put the valve cover on out of his box of bolts and stuff. So this may have been the rattling. I double checked. Some of the valves were a little too tight, I think. So I loosened it. It was mostly the exhaust side was a little too tight. But that's also where I was hearing the majority of this, and it did kind of sound like it was bouncing around between cylinders 2 and 3, the noise. And you know, I went to go put the valve cover on. I didn't hear it taking it off, and I leaned the valve cover over so I could like hold the gasket or whatever. I went to go drop it down. I heard like a tinging like in the thing, so I shook it around, and this thing had, so I guess, broken loose when I fired the engine up yesterday. So I shook it around enough, and I was able to get it to peek its head out. So I used the magnet and pulled it right out. So we're gonna fire it up really quick. Actually, no, I'm not gonna fire it up. I'm gonna pull the thermostat out really quick, throw it in a pot of water, see if it opens. If it does, then I know that he's got a clogged heater core or something that's not letting the coolant flow through. The radiator is probably clogged, but I can at least get water to come from the top and out the bottom port. So I don't think it's that clogged that it won't cycle. So my guess is bad thermostat or clogged heater core, in terms of why I can't get the thermostat to open or whatever, but I think that would just be thermostat. I don't know. So I tried boiling this thing, and water was boiling like almost over the pot. This thing did not open yet, so bad thermostat. Kind of frustrating because this is a brand new one, but shout out AutoZone for carrying crappy parts. I know sometimes these things can just be faulty out of the box, and this just happens to be that case. So I'm gonna run up to the parts store, I'm gonna grab another thermostat, we're gonna slap this in, and then before we slap it in, because of what I pulled out of that reservoir yesterday, I'm gonna try and disconnect these heater hoses and try and run the garden hose through it, because I'm afraid of what might be in there. And also I'm afraid if that I put a good thermostat in there and then, you know, tries to go through the heater system like you're supposed to bleed it, it might not bleed correctly. So yeah, we will try and flush that out and replace this, and I will be back shortly. We got a new thermostat. This one's one of the stainless steel ones from O'Reilly's, not the one with the copper or whatever in it. Just tested it, this one does open, so I'm gonna go ahead and slap this one in real quick, and then we're gonna flush the heater core out. Got the garden hose out here. I took it off of the actual little valve here. I'm gonna shine a flashlight there in a sec just to make sure this is open and it hasn't like completely corroded itself off or like fallen apart. And then I got the hose that's supposed to be right here. I got it pointed down right here. So that way we can kind of see what's gonna come out there. I want it to fall down. There's not really much space for me to put it, but over here by the sensor. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hook this hose up to this thing. I do have it set to the heat. It is electronic, so it is set on the heater and should be open. So let me shine the light in this thing real quick and then make sure it is open, and then we can get to flushing. Okay, definitely appears to be open, so I can see a little puddle of coolant down at the very bottom there. So we're gonna go ahead and hook this hose up. Oh yeah, oh that is nasty. It is straight poop water. Okay. Well, that should be good. That was a lot of brown water, so I mean, it wasn't totally as bad as I expected it to be. I expected chunks to come out, so I think the heater core should be good. So I think we should be okay now to try and fill this thing back up with water and get it bled. Just topping off the coolant real quick. Should be good though. I flushed it till it was flowing out white, so hopefully that is okay. Hopefully we can now bleed this thing properly. But only one way to find out. Do we have gears? Alright, we got all of our gears now. Sweet. It held the valve train. It's still ticky. I don't know what else it could be. I mean, obviously it has to be the valve train, but it's still just a very noisy motor. And if me and Doge went over it and it's still not right, I don't know. I mean, I can give it one more shot tomorrow with the valve lash, but I don't know what else to do other than that. But it still starts up good, so let's hope this at least bleeds. So that way the last thing I have to worry about is the throttle cable bracket and the valve lash. Just bled it for like 20-25 minutes. Got the thermostat to open, so lower hose is nice and hot. Car has good hot heat. One thing I did notice though is that the fans do not work. I mean, the fans work because I jumped the plug on the thermostat housing, so the fan switch, which is the one that's on the thermostat housing, appears to be bad. So cheap fix, easy fix, but yeah, it wasn't overheating while I was sitting here idling it. So, and I had the throttle open a few different times, so he should be fine to drive it home. And then if he has overheating issues, maybe the fans just aren't needed right now for whatever reason. Maybe the computer's not seeing it, but they should have kicked on at least once. So, but cooling system is bled. I'm gonna let this thing cool down a little bit so I can put my plug in here. I suppose I'm gonna put the plug in here now, and then we can start working on this throttle cable bracket, and then he said he's going to stop by a little bit later today to bring by the material for the intake, or the little tube or whatever he has, his short ram intake. So forgive me if I'm not creative enough for you guys for this one, but all I'm using is like some 12 gauge sheet steel, and then I just cut the factory B21. This isn't exactly how I'm leaving it. I'm gonna bend it around so it looks a little bit cleaner and cut off the excess, but essentially just tacked it to this plate and then tacked it to the actual piece of the cable that I cut off, and it's taut where it needs to be, so I'm gonna pull this off, clean it up, finish welding it, and that'll have to be it for now until he sources one. Well, this is gonna have to be good enough. Is it really stupid if it works? I'm gonna throw some black paint on this quick though, just to make it at least kind of blend in a little bit, but yeah, whatever. If it works, it works. So I got everything in. The guy just came by, dropped off the intake, and of course the one thing that I told him while I was showing him the car is I haven't tried putting it in gear yet. The first thing I do, fire up the car, try to put it in gear, and it won't go into gear. So I just ran through a few different things. I tried bleeding the clutch. Clutch is fine, no leaks, put fresh fluid in it, bled through it all, so that way it had good fluid in it. Still is the same. You can physically see the clutch arm, the clutch fork moving. You can see with the little service cover open, you can see the throat bearing going in and out just fine. So I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is because the guy supplied me with an Amazon clutch and pressure plate. I did reuse the OEM flywheel, which came off the old engine, which was fine, and I just block sanded it with 400 grit because it didn't even have hardly any heat marks or whatever. So I'm thinking it has to be this, because like I don't know what else it can be. I'll throw the clip in here, and you guys can kind of get a look for yourself. I can't fit this camera in, but I filmed it on my phone to send it to some friends. Go ahead and put it in gear. So yeah, this may turn into a part 5 where I have to drop this damn transmission again and change the stuff out, but I don't know. Car's done. Well, I mean, it was done for about 2 seconds until that. I don't know. At least the cooling system's bled, I guess. That's a plus. Valve lash still sucks. That's not a plus. Throttle bracket works at least. That works, so can't really complain there, but fuck. Alright, well, hope you guys know this video, because I got nothing left. I gotta try and figure this stuff out, and I may or may not even film dropping the transmission again, because I just need to get this thing done and out of here, and it's obviously going to be a pain in the butt. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, should have liked the video. Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you've considered subscribing, and like you guys noticed in the last few videos, I try not to hide any of my mistakes, and this is definitely one of them that I honestly don't think was my fault. I think this was actually a legit part failure, so fingers crossed it's just a shitty pressure plate. Anyways, guys, do what you love. Forget about the rest, and we'll see you in the next one. Hopefully it's a better one. Peace out.